Hello, 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 and welcome everyone. I want to thank everyone first for watching Tech Thursday's Week 7 activity. This is where we're going to learn how to make a scratch to make a simple video game. It's actually going to be a Pong game. During this workshop, you're going to design a bouncing ball game like Pong if you're familiar with that game. Like always, please feel free to pause this recording at any time so you can experiment with Scratch. Let's get started. So a couple things of housekeeping first. If you haven't already, please pause this video and navigate to Scratch and sign into your account. That's scratch.mit.edu. Sign into account if you do not have an account. It's set up a free account, so you'll be able to do this, as well as once you set up an account, you can share with other people in the community if you like what you design. Number two, just so you know, failure is good. Don't be afraid to fail. Coding, or really anything that you're doing new, can be difficult and you may mess up. So if you feel yourself being frustrated, I would just recommend taking a deep breath or two. Maybe you need to take a break and walk away from the screen for a little bit, and then just come back when you're ready to engage again. Since this is recording, not live, you can pause and rewatch this recording as much as you needed. And then also, just so you know, you can learn a lot from your failures, your mistakes, because that's when you learn, well, why did it do that? You'll figure out how to debug, figure out, fix it, and move on. And then thirdly, I want you guys all to have fun. Like I said, learning a new skill can be frustrating and challenging, but ultimately this is supposed to be fun and a good learning experience. So I have this recording broken into essentially three parts: thinking, instructing, and creating. The first thinking is we're actually going to have you imagine and start thinking about what you can do for your project. Instructing is when I actually go step by step and show you an example of how to create a Pong game. And then the third one, creating, that's when you're actually going to be the one doing it. Now you could stop it and pause the video during my instructing part and go along with it and create as well during that time. But hopefully after the video, you'll do some cleaning up and more experimentation, and then maybe also do some sharing within the community. So I want you to think. So we're going to make a Pong game, P-O-N-G, if you're not familiar. If you're not familiar with Pong yet, it's a classic video game where there are two vertical lines on opposite sides of the screen, and a ball will bounce back and forth between the two lines. The players control the lines moving up and down so they can hit the ball before it passes them and hit it back to their opponent. So you can design something as simple as that, do a classic sample, or if you want to something a little bit more creative, you can. So like think about what other items could act like balls. What settings can you imagine? Do you want this to be in space? Do you want this to be in a house, like you're playing, with a sibling? Or what other sports can you mimic with your game? It doesn't actually have to be like like you think of volleyball players, they spike a volleyball across the net. Maybe you design it to look more like that. Think of dogs actually hitting like maybe deflated balloons at a birthday party, or even maybe a pizza chef. They're tossing the pizza across in the air over and over, so the pizza acts as a ball. Or even maybe a flower that's trying to get pollinated by a roaming bee. You control the flower, the bee's kind of falling, you try to get the flower to hit the bee. Or you could flip it around, learn how to make the bee is the one moving to the falling flowers. If you have some ideas, if not, that's fine. We're actually going to watch a little video to give you some examples. And actually, let me show you an example. I should do before I do the video. Let me show you an example of it's a Pong game that I made. So see, I made this. I'm moving the cake with a mouse, and this balloon is what I'm hitting. And basically, you see my scores going up every time I hit the balloon. And then it ends when it hits this red line at the end. So that's what I did for that. So that's the example of a Pong game. Essentially, instead of doing vertical, I'm doing on the horizontal. So you could do that way too. And it's one player game. You could also make a two-player game. That's what you were thinking about in classic Pong. So let's go look at the video. So when you sign in, if you ever want to watch this tutorial again, you can click on ideas and you scroll down. You see there's a bunch of different ideas and things you can do. We've done some of this stuff, or we will do some of this stuff. Go to Pong game and go try the tutorial. What this is going to do, it's going to set up, get you ready for actually ready to create. And I'm just going to name it there so I can remember what it is. But here's actually the video. So let me go ahead and have you watch this first. Choose an object to bounce around.
ball move with this block. Let's see what happens if we put it in a loop. Nice. Now, it seems to be stuck on the edge. Let's try adding this block. If on edge, bounce inside the loop. Okay, great. It's moving back and forth. Let's see if we can make it bounce at an angle. I'll make it point at an angle and start the code by clicking the green flag. Now, let's add another sprite that the player can use to hit the ball. I'll pick the paddle. I'll drag the paddle to the bottom, and I want the player to be able to move the paddle side to side by moving the mouse. So I'll make the paddle go across the stage when the mouse moves. And I'll add a green flag on top. Click the green arrow to find out how to hit the ball with the paddle, add a score, and more.
So that's a simple video to show you how to get started with a ball and a paddle that you use in that case. And then you could continue on by filling this green arrow, and it goes step by step. Choose a backdrop, choose the ball. And so you could go that way if you ever need to. But I'm gonna actually show you myself step by step. So let's get back to the screen. So a couple things to think about before you begin is the theme and the number of players. So do you want the game to have a theme? The video we just saw just kind of had an interesting background. It didn't really seem to have a theme necessarily, but some of the examples they showed is they actually showed a soccer field, a soccer player hitting a ball. That would be a theme. Show it like soccer. We mentioned like a pizza chef throwing a pizza could be a theme. Or you could have it in space, maybe a spaceship, hitting, I don't know, trying to navigate to a planet or something, whatever you can think of. And then how many players do you want it to have? The one video, the thing I've created is the one we saw, showed a one person game where you have it at the bottom and you move the object, the paddle, horizontally, and the ball goes around there. If you wanted to have two people against each other, you could have them maybe on each side of the screen, have them go vertical up and down, like the classic Pong game. I'm going to show you how to do just the one-player game today, but that would be something when you get a little bit more experience with this, maybe try a two-player game and just think of how you're going to have each one move, because one of the ones we're having it move by is using the mouse. You won't be able to do that with two different players on the same computer screen. So just some things to think about as you get started. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to choose a backdrop. So we'll go here, over here in the corner, let's choose a backdrop. We'll click on that. And this is all, but we could narrow it down, or we could actually search if we're thinking of something in particular. But the other one is just patterns. You could also do something like underwater if you had a theme. I mentioned space. We could do something in space. There's actually sports. If we wanted to have it sports themed, we could do that. Music themed as well. I think I'm just going to pick music. I'm going to pick a theater here is my example. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I'll start with that. Now, step 2, we're actually going to choose a sprite. Now, this is the sprite that's going to act as the ball. We will choose another sprite to act as the paddle later on, but we're starting with one as ball. So click the sprite here, click, and you can choose what works best for you. Now, there are actually balls. If you actually want it to be a ball, you could actually search maybe ball and get just some different ones. They show some other things as well, so you may need to scroll along. I think that since I'm a theater, I might have mine be like something that's not ball-like at all. I might have something interesting. I think I might do a bell. And I'm also going to resize this because that's a little big for the space. And you could choose multiple sprites if you want to make the game more complex in the future. You have to hit multiple things up. I would say right now just start with one until we get the movement right. So next step is now we're going to actually make that ball, that sprite we chose as our ball, move. So what I'm going to do, in mine, I like to choose what it starts with first. That's just my preference. You don't have to do that. So I'll go to the event section, this kind of yellow color, and do when the green flag is clicked for the start. And then I'm going to go to motion because we want the sprite to move. And I'm going to have it move 10 steps. And you can change the number of steps if you want to go faster or slower. 10 is kind of the default. So if you want to go a little faster, you might want to go 15 steps. And you could test that and see. Now we want to go to this orange one, control, because we want this to repeat. So we're going to do forever and wrap that around the movement. We also want to add something that mentioned, see, we can click on this and see what it does. So see, and then it gets stuck. So that's why we're actually going to go to the motion one, and we're going to find if on edge bounce, because we want it to be able to keep going like that. See, we don't want it to just stop at the edge. We also, just right now, it's going back and forth. That's not going to be much of a game, so we want it to rotate a little bit. So we're going to have it point in a direction as well. Right now it's 90. We could change it 45. That'd be about that angle. You can see what that looks like. It's going to look something like that. Yeah, and it seems to move around enough. I think that's good, but you could change the angle if you wanted to experiment with that. So that's a good movement starting with the bell. It seems to be moving enough over. Going pretty fast. We could slow it down if we want, or if you want to start with that. I think that's good movement. So let's go to our next step and see. So the next step, probably not surprised, we're going to choose another sprite. This is the sprite that's going to act as the paddle that you'll be choosing. So we're going to choose it. We're going to make it so it moves for us. So go over here to click sprite. We're choose. Now, since I chose a bell, what would be a good thing to hit the bell? It might be a person. Might be a good thing to hit the bell. I might click on people, see if there's anyone that maybe looks especially inclined that would be a good bell ringer. Let's choose her. And you know what? I'm going to change her costume to sitting. I'm going to put her down here like she's sitting on the stage. That's just a preference of mine. And that's probably a good size for her, but I could resize her if I wanted to by going to size over here. Remember? So now we're going to make her move. So to that, we're same thing. We're going to start with events. I'm going to do the green arrow. Green arrow where the green flag is clicked. And then we're going to motion here. And I always want the paddle to start right here, or start here. So I'm going to set X to that number here. And that's just so every time I start, the paddle starts there, just so I know where it's going to start. You don't have to add that, but that's just a preference. Then we're going to sensing, which is kind of this bluish green block. And we're going to have the actually, we're going to set X2. Actually, I don't need that. That was a, actually, we're going to set X2. Mouse X. So I meant to say, so actually I'll put that in there. Because what that's going to do is that's going to make it wherever the mouse is, X, that's where it's going to start. And then we want to make this repeat forever. Because we want it to be able to keep moving. See, the problem is before I didn't have that forever, it stopped at the beginning. So now I can move it with my mouse and it's staying along the X-axis as I move it back and forth. So we got that moving. Now, obviously, we're not done yet. That's not a full game. So the next step is we're going to make the ball bounce off the paddle. This is actually how now we're making it into a game. So to do this, we're going to make sure we select the ball sprite when you're using it as a ball. And we're going to add new code that states when the ball is touching the paddle, we're going to have it turn some degrees and move some steps and repeat forever. So we're going to start with the event block again, and we're going to do another when green flag is clicked. And we're going to use the control block, make sure we do forever. We're going to look at the sensing block, which we're going to do if it's touching, but it's going to be Ruby. Ruby is this sprite. The name here is Ruby, but it'd be your paddle sprite basically. And then motion, we want it to turn actually here. There, we actually if touching Ruby, then we want it to, sorry, I did that wrong. If it's touching Ruby, this paddle, that's when we want it to turn some degrees and move a number of steps, which we'll keep 15 to do with to stay with this 15 over here. And we also probably want it to wait a little bit. Oops, that's really, maybe wait half a second. We add a little time delay in there too, if we want. So let's test that out and see. Okay, so it seems to be bouncing off. Yeah, seems to be bouncing off. It's not the greatest. It's probably because the person for paddle is probably not the best object to choose. Probably better to have something flatter, but you can see it is working. So another thing we want to actually do is we probably want to add a score. You notice we don't have a score for that. So to do that, we're going to go to variables here. We're actually going to make a variable. We're going to call it score. And we're just going to do it for this sprite, which is right now we're still on the bell. So we're going to put this on the bell, that ball sprite. And so what we're going to do, we're also going to make it, so when we start, we're going to start this, set the variable, start the score to 0. So whenever you start, it should start at 0. And then we're going to have a change by 1 if touching Ruby. So let's try that again and see if it changes. Nope, doesn't seem to be changing, so we've not put that correctly. I didn't change it. I kept it in my variable. I need to change the score. Let's try that again and see if it changes. Yep, see there, it's going up. Twice at 3. And then when we start over, it's going back to 0. So that seems to be working. Now, the other thing you may want to do as a way to end the game would be to actually add a line or something here at the bottom where if it crosses, it ends the game. So we want to add another sprite for that. So we're going to go add sprite. And we're going to just do a line, essentially. And we're going to put the line here at the bottom of the screen. Because basically it got past our paddle. And then for this sprite, we're also going to do events when the green flag is clicked. So they're all the same. And we're going to do the if one, and then the sensing. This one, if it's touching, and it's going to be the bell, because if the line and bell touch, that's what we want it to do. And then we'll stop all. Let me see if that's correct. No, that didn't seem to be working. So that's not the right one. But see, this is exactly what I was talking about with the debugging, what you would do. Oh, we probably also want to add the forever in here as well. Let's try that again because maybe it was there. See, now it stopped for good. We added that forever. So that's how we got that to work. Now, so that would end the game. So see, that's a pretty simple, not terribly difficult way to make a simple Pong game. So now, just so you can start making it more complex, now that you got that, maybe add more balls that you have to hit, or add a way to make more players, or try a different theme. Um, maybe if you add more players, what I would rather do, rather than have it with the mouse, you may want to do is have it, you have to move the keyboard, so, buttons on the keyboard, like maybe one person does up and down, one person has, you know, A and S, something like that. You have different sides of the keyboard you might be want to do rather than the mouse, or one person has the mouse, one person has the keyboard, however you best fits for you. And you also want to have two scoreboards then in that case. So you'll have to think of how to add for each sprite, for each paddle. It keeps a different score. That'd be more complex. Maybe you want to add more balls and still have one player, but make it a little bit more difficult. You have to keep multiple balls in the air. You have to go faster, or some of them go faster. You can add sounds in there. So when you hit it, maybe it makes a sound. I didn't do that in this case, but you can do that. Or maybe make it change color, like I actually did in my example with the balloon and the cake. That's what I did. I had it change color and make a popping sound when it hit. And you can also change the costumes, like I think I did with that with the cake. I had if you notice, I had the candles go out and relight, so it would change, so to know when you're hitting it better. So basically, get creative, do whatever you like. So think of some debugging steps. If you get stuck, feel free to talk to someone. Try out small bits of code at a time so you can observe what is happening in each step. Look closely at the blocks that are used in this tutorial, this video I showed, and depending on where you're watching this, I'll have some activity cards posted as well. And just remember, bugs will happen, and knowing how to work through them is an important skill. So this is actually a good thing when you mess up, you're learning a new skill. So some thoughts, things this, what did you like the best? What did you like best about the project you make? What was the hardest part? And what would you change if you did it again? Remember, you can do it again as much as you like. It's a free account. So I wanted to thank everyone for watching. And once again, scratch.mit.edu is the website you can go to. At the Pong tutorial, if you want to find it, scratch.mit.edu and then just go to ideas and find it there. So look forward. We have a few more weeks left, so a few more different activities to do. Hopefully you'll join me for those as well. Thank you.